Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a sequence of events that seriously blurs the line between the natural and the supernatural. Just imagine this for a second. You've just landed a massive promotion at work, you're expecting your very first child, and your company sets you up in this spacious, newly allotted apartment. It sounds like the absolute perfect fresh start, right? But what happens when that standard, everyday company relocation turns into a living, breathing nightmare? Today, we are breaking down the horrifying case of flat number 18. We're going to examine the timeline, the psychology of the victims, and the dark, historical lore that literally turned a mundane apartment block into a supernatural trap.
Listen to these words. Chanda hai tu, mera suraj hai tu, aur meri aankhon ka tara hai tu. In English, that basically translates to, you are my moon, you are my sun, you are the star of my eyes. Now normally, this is a classic, deeply affectionate Indian lullaby. It's meant to soothe, to express a mother's boundless love. But, as you'll see in the events we're exploring today, this sweet lullaby is completely stripped of its warmth. Instead, it becomes this terrifying auditory motif, a very clear signal of impending doom, echoing through the halls of our story. Keep this song in the back of your mind, because its origin is literally the key to this entire mystery.
Okay, let's dive into this. Let's set the totally mundane scene that makes the horror that follows so incredibly jarring. Our subjects here are Ronak Malhotra, who's a very practical, logic-driven civil engineer, and his wife Juhi, who is 7 months pregnant. They arrive at this pretty nondescript, yellow company residential building after a grueling 5-hour drive. They're exhausted, their defenses are completely down, and they're assigned to flat number 18, right up on the 3rd floor. Now, at first glance, the place is spacious. It's actually a step up from their last home. But the environment is immediately hostile, even if Ronak can't quite see it yet. Which brings us to the very first major red flag. Right as they pull up, we get this fascinating clash of perspectives. The building's security guard rushes out to greet them, but the absolute second his eyes land on Juhi's heavily pregnant stomach, he physically recoils, just pure fear. He actually begs Ronak to take his wife to a hotel 2 kilometers away, offering to figure out alternative housing later. But Ronak, well, he's operating purely on logic and exhaustion. The flat is ready, his wife is tired, so he just completely dismisses the warning. He overrides local intuition with sheer stubbornness, and man, this quickly builds into pure chaos. You know what's truly terrifying about the case of flat number 18? It's the velocity of the haunting. We're not talking about a slow burn here. The supernatural escalation happens within a mere 24 hours. On night 1, Juhi is physically touched in bed. By the morning of day 2, a local maid is violently attacked. And by the evening of day 2, the entity fully manifests alongside that chilling lullaby. The spirit wastes absolutely zero time. It immediately recognizes what it wants, and the entire apartment basically becomes an active trap the second they step out of the elevator. The psychological dynamic between the couple here is fascinating, and honestly, it's fatal. On night 1, right around 1:30 a.m., Juhi feels this rough, unnaturally hot hand caressing her pregnant stomach. She screams, swearing the hand burned her. But Ronak, he checks her skin, sees no physical burn mark, and totally dismisses her. He chalks the whole thing up to travel fatigue, stress, and lack of sleep. It's your classic horror dynamic, right? You have the highly attuned, vulnerable victim experiencing visceral terror, paired with the skeptical partner who basically gaslights them with logic. Ronak's refusal to believe Juhi isolates her, which makes her even more vulnerable to whatever is in that room. And the consequences of Ronak's denial become lethal by morning. The guard, who clearly knows the danger, sends a maid up to the flat. She takes one look around and begs Juhi to leave immediately. But before she can even explain why, the kitchen erupts in noise. A black cat with glowing red eyes appears out of nowhere. The terrified maid flees for her life to the elevator, but the cat is already there, and it morphs into this massive weeping shadow. The sheer auditory horror of the shadow's wailing causes the maid to violently hemorrhage. She bleeds out from her ears, nose, and mouth until she literally drops dead. This brutal event proves right then and there that the danger in flat 18 is not some hallucination. It is aggressive, and it is 100% lethal. By the time Ronak returns from work, the tension is suffocating. Despite the maid's horrifying death, he insists they just order food and try to relax. But as they're sitting out on the balcony, the lullaby begins. Chanda hai tu. Juhi hears it perfectly clearly. Her baby starts kicking violently, reacting to this supernatural presence. And then, the baby just stops moving entirely. They retreat to the bedroom, and boom, there it is. A dark shadow, nursing a doll right on their bed. The entity looks straight at them and delivers this terrifying ultimatum. This child is mine. I will take it. The climax of the attack is just an absolute whirlwind of chaos. Ronak finally realizes the horrific truth, but it's way too late. The bedroom door slams shut and locks itself. That demonic cat manifests again, leaping onto Ronak and violently clawing at his face, completely neutralizing him. As Ronak is fighting for his life, the dark shadow hovers up into the air, and in its arms, instead of the doll, it's now holding the apparition of a lifeless infant. Juhi screams in agony and collapses. The sheer supernatural trauma of the attack causes a devastating, instantaneous miscarriage. The entity quite literally stole the life right from her womb.
This brings us to a really crucial pivot point. This horrific tragedy has occurred. Juhi has lost her child. But looking at the mechanics of this haunting, we have to ask, why? Hauntings of this magnitude are rarely just random. Why was this specific spirit so fixated on Juhi's pregnancy? Why the lullaby? Why the doll? To understand what's really happening, we have to dig into the dark history of the building itself.
Section: The tragic backstory revealed. Let's uncover the very human evil that actually birthed this nightmare. The next day at the hospital, that guilt-ridden security guard finally confesses the dark history of the flat to a completely broken Ronak. The sequence of events goes like this. Step 1. The previous occupants were a couple struggling with severe infertility. The wife's mental health declined so steeply that she began nursing a plastic doll, singing at that exact lullaby, Chanda Hai 2. Step 2. Desperate, they hire a surrogate mother. Step 3. The surrogate realizes the power she holds and actually blackmails the husband, demanding he marry her to keep the child. Step 4. Blinded by his desperation for a biological heir, the husband commits an unthinkable atrocity. He locks his mentally fragile wife in the apartment with her doll and burns her alive, framing the whole thing as an electrical short circuit. And this brilliantly illustrates how human greed created the vengeful spirit in the first place. So the crucial point here is understanding the psychological mechanism of the ghost, which is a concept known as transferred vengeance. This happens when a spirit projects its past trauma and intense anger onto an incompletely innocent person who happens to resemble their betrayer. When the betrayed wife's spirit saw Juhi, a pregnant woman moving into her home, she didn't see an innocent civil engineer's wife. In her twisted, spiritually fractured state, she saw the surrogate. She saw the pregnant woman who stole her husband, her life, and her child. The ghost was just reenacting her vengeance on the only proxy available.
The aftermath of this transferred vengeance is absolute devastation. The trauma completely shatters Juhi's mind. Having lost her baby to this demonic force, she just loses her grip on reality. Ronak, burdened with the heavy guilt of his own skepticism, packs up whatever is left of their lives and they flee the city entirely. They escape, but the tragedy, it remains rooted in place. The curse of flat number 18 is permanent. Even today, residents report that if you walk the halls of the third floor late at night, you can still hear the faint, echoing sound of a woman singing a lullaby to a stolen child. We often think of our homes as safe havens, right? Especially when we're trying to build a family. But the story of Ronak and Juhi shows us that sometimes the walls around us hold memories of betrayal so deep they absolutely refuse to move on. It kind of makes you wonder about the history of the walls you're sitting within right now. Who lived there before you? What secrets might be buried under the floorboards? I'll leave you with this final thought. Have you ever heard an unexplained sound in your apartment? Are you entirely sure who you're sharing your space with? Take a look at your door. Are you living in flat number 18? Thanks for watching this explainer. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.